And when it rains, you know, your arthritis is flare up. Oh, it's all joyous. Some people even say, oh, this all corruptible flesh. And this is the attitude or the view of the body. Because even today there are many persons who view it as just something that is a decaying shell, preventing man and preventing them from being who they really ought to be. And because this is so, they look for a way to be liberated from incarceration. Because of these three reasons and more, friends, the human body during Paul's day was not viewed from a sacred perspective at all. It was disrespected. It was abused. The human body was also viewed with disgust. And it was against this background that we hear this man Paul begging and pleading with these Christians at Rome to live their lives and use their bodies in such a way that the surrounding Roman culture could see the human body for what it really is. Something that is sacred, made in the image and likeness of God. Something that is beautiful, because that's what the body is, something beautiful. Now, let me just plug this in here. Now, I know sometimes you look in the mirror, and when you look at yourself in the mirror in your natural state, you look and you see a little lump here, a little side here, and you say to yourself, boy, my body really getting away. But guess what? That's a part of life. That's a part of the process of aging. But still, the body is beautiful. And we don't need to just look at those runway models who, that thin, and think that they're the only ones who are beautiful. Oh no, friends. You're beautiful as well. Your body is beautiful. And you must never forget that, even though the mirror tells you another story. Even though Paul says that the body is something sacred and beautiful, this is the question which concerns us tonight. Did these Christians in Rome, to whom Paul begged and pleaded, did they listen to what he was saying? More importantly, how did these Christians in Rome respond to the begging and pleading of this man who asked them to present themselves to God as a living sacrifice? In order for us to come to an answer, or to answer these two questions, the only way of coming close to an answer tonight, dear friends, is for us to place ourselves in their position. And upon so doing, we can see how we would respond to Paul's begging and pleading today. This is what this Lenten Mission 2015 is all about, you know. It is a challenge to all of us, individually and corporately as a church, to present ourselves to God so that we can become living sacrifices for Him. Therefore, as we dive deeper into considering what Paul is begging and pleading with us to do tonight, I wish for us to explore three questions. Just three questions. And these questions, dear friends, are centered around our theme for the evening. And after we consider these three questions, hopefully, answering them can assist you in making a favorable response to our God, the God for whom Paul begs and pleads with us tonight to be a living sacrifice. So let's begin with the three questions. Question number one. How do people beg and plead with us in our culture today? How do people beg and plead with us in our culture today? As Turks Islanders, I'm sure you must be familiar with begging and pleading in some form. Simply because there are so many instances or cases in life whereby persons beg and plead with us, probably from small even to now. For when it comes to begging and pleading, we might have experienced it in one of the following forms. Consider the following. I want you to think back when you used to be in school. And as you think back when you used to be in school, I want you to think back to lunchtime. You know they say lunchtime is the best time in school time? That's true. Well, at least it's true for some, but not for all. And I say that simply because when it came around to lunchtime in school, well, I know for me, there was always this one particular person. Guaranteed, lunchtime, they always used to try and look for me to find me to beg me for some of my lunch. Now, mind you, I was poor. My people were poor. So all they had to give me for lunch was slam bam. Y'all know what slam bam is, right? Sausage and bread. Slam bam! Put the sausage in the bread. Bam! That's it. Ma said, go to school. But that's all I had for lunch. But every lunchtime, guaranteed, this person used to come looking for me. And so I had to hide. One time I went and I hid behind the classes, behind one tree. And that person find me. And when he came and he found me, he said, give me some of your lunch, please. You know, you're small. No, man, I tired you begging. Get away from me. And so even from that experience, you know, I learned at a very early age what it means to live in a culture whereby people beg you for things. But also now, consider this next example. I want you to consider this example of someone who wants to borrow money from you. Now, like your schoolmate, or like that person used to beg me in school, there's always someone around who wants to borrow some money. Isn't that true? Do you know someone who always wants to borrow money from you? Well, in Nassau, in Freeport in particular, where I'm from, this is what they say. The guys, they hang on the blocks. They won't wait. But when Friday comes and, you know, everyone get paid, 5 o'clock. Hey man, they want slow 5. Slow 5. That's what they say. And they come and they beg you. And even if you go and you stop to the traffic light, someone would come, smudge you up your glass, you've been shielded. And then, give me a dollar. I'll clean your glass, give me a dollar. And begging is all around us. There's always someone who wants to borrow money. Whether it's someone who begs you for your paycheck, someone who begs you at the traffic light, it might even be a family member who always wants to borrow money. Or a close friend, or someone through your neighborhood. So, dear friends, no matter where you find yourself in life, there's always someone who begs you for money. And the truth be told now, some of these persons who beg you for money, they have perfected their craft of begging. Why? Because they'll nag you and nag you and nag you until you give in. And even though they promise to pay you back, you ever notice how people always say they pay you back? But guess what? The minute you give them that, as we say, bush crack, man gone. And then the tables are turned. Because now you have to run them down to beg and plead with them to get your people back. Isn't that true? That's another example. But also consider this example of begging and pleading from our everyday life. Think about a visit to the doctor. Now, as an older person, you might have had the experience whereby it was time for you to go to your doctor to get a checkup. And guess what? Knowing that you have to go, when my appointment, the 5th, man, I really didn't go see doctor today. And the question is, why do you feel that way? Well, you feel this way because as an older person, you've been bad. You're overweight. You've not stuck to your diet. You like to eat greasy food. And your sugar levels are at an all-time high. You've been bad. And so you dread having to go to see the doctor for your checkup. And so you stumble into the doctor's office. And you say to yourself, you know what? Boy, doctor kill me. Doctor kill me. And so before you go to see the doctor, this is what you do. You come up with a plan. And this is the plan. For 2 weeks before you go to see the doctor, you stop eating the fried, greasy foods. And then, for that 2 weeks also, you boil a lot of bitters. Go, 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 go. And you drink it all down for 2 weeks straight, and you say, oh yeah, I straight, I can see doc now. But the doctor isn't fooled, because the doctor knows all the tricks. And many of them run you through those battery of tests, and the results come back, and he sees your sugars way up here, and you gain more weight, and he's row you. He rows you. And then he starts to beg and plead with you, Mr. John Brown, what I tell you, man, why don't you stop eating all these fried foods and take control of your health so that you can be around a little bit longer?